Hellraiser movies, and you are listening to Without Your Head. And you better keep listening to Without Your Head, or you will not only be without your head, you will be without your soul, because I will tear it apart.
This is gonna work out for us. And the best part is that no one gets hurt.
We need to find somewhere to lay low. Somewhere off the grid.
Let's go. I don't want to get mixed up in whatever state we're in, Chainsaw Massacre.
What the hell?
Nobody wander off alone.
Xenia!
They're coming for us. Y'all want to get out of here?
Six criminals on the run.
What are you?
Looks like you found yourself caught smack dab right in the middle of an old-fashioned feud.
Trapped between the creatures that roam the night and the monsters that rule the day.
Where are you gonna go? Where?
You ripped them limb from limb!
A hard place.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Jay Horton, co-writer and director of A Hard Place. It's really cool to have you here.
Thank you, Neal. Thank you for having me.
Now, Hard Place, I had a great time watching, and not just because you're here, but can you give people an idea of what A Hard Place is about if they're not familiar yet?
Sure. Hard Place is a monster versus monster movie. It's basically about a group of criminals. They're on the run, and they're in the sticks, and they end up in the middle of this ancient feud between the creatures that rule the day and the monsters that rule the night. Kind of crime thriller / monster movie. Comedy action extravaganza.
So this movie seems really ambitious for an independent film. So when you're like writing it, do you think like, or does anyone else like, I don't know if you're going to be able to make this. Maybe you need to cut it back or.
Yeah, all the time. So it's throughout. I've made a lot of movies, and throughout my career, maybe my biggest strength and weakness is that. Like I don't like I'm not pragmatic when it comes to movies. Like I do have like grander ambitions, like I like movies with scope and like with a lot of characters, and I like to push myself. So when I made Craving, the movie right before this, it was basically a single location, one monster movie with a lot of people. But then I was like, so my next one, I want to go bigger. I want two different types of monsters. We're going to go outside and put more people in. And then my next movie that I'm doing is like even bigger. But yeah, I think there's something like exciting about like pushing yourself beyond your means as opposed to playing it safe. I've never been a play it safe guy. I would rather like go down in flames like swinging than like play it safe.
Yeah. How about like the locations then? Since you said you Cravings in one location, this one has a lot, but did you have them in mind while you're writing? Like at least like I have access to different places.
No, not at
Okay.
all. So I didn't. I originally wrote this script, many years ago, the first draft of it, and then but brushed it off a couple of years ago after Craving because I thought it might be a good follow-up. But no, I had no clue. I knew I needed a farmhouse, two-story. I knew I needed woods. I knew I needed a drive-in, but I just, went and found them.
So, how about the look of the Guardians themselves? Like how hands-on are you on that? Like, do you like storyboard them out, like what they're gonna look like? Or
No, I'm not much of a drawer. And I've worked with Robert Bravo, my special effects guy, for many years. He's been on everything of mine since I think my third movie. So usually the way we work is he'll ask me like, what are you trying to accomplish with these creatures? Like what, do you want them to be scary? Do you want them to be cool? Like what's like the thematic resonance behind these creatures? And then we'll kind of go from there, and he'll draw up a couple of sketches, and he'll be like, oh, how's this? And I'll be like, well, maybe this, and we'll go back and forth a few times, and then he'll actually create them. But I find with effects artists or pretty much any department head on a small movie, you have to give them like some leeway and some ability to be creative, within bounds. But so I like to let people do their thing.
yeah, I also know like I'm friends with some effects artists, and one of the things that aggravates them is if their stuff's not shot right. So like was
Yes.
he on set to like make sure like you got to shoot this a certain way so it looks its best?
Bravo is one of the most like probably permissive special effects guys you'll ever meet. I've seen him complain afterwards about things, but I've never seen him yell on set. But I am very aware of it. So like I force him into that position. Like on Craving, we had a transformation sequence, and I basically forced him to like visually direct the sequence because we didn't have time to board it out. So I was like, you tell them where to put the camera. What? No, you tell them where to put the camera. And then but now we've worked together so much, I have a pretty good sense of it. And so I've gotten pretty good at knowing where to put the camera, but I'll ask him if I'm not sure.
Yeah. And there's a lot of monsters in the movie. You don't shy away from them. Or sometimes you hear a movie's a monster movie and you'll see, it'll pop up at the end or whatever, but you see them throughout the movie and a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really so, one of my big inspirations as a kid was Aliens. And I loved the escalation from Alien to Aliens. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alien's a masterpiece, but I love the like that one monster was so, devastating. And now we have like 30 of them, it's like, I really like that overwhelming sense. So I wanted to get a little bit of that with these guys. And I also knew we were going to be shooting in the day for most of it. And, that's tricky to make things, scary in the day when you can see everything. That was another reason why, they kind of became, tree-like creatures. And, we even match the color of their bark to, the bark that was where we were shooting.
Yeah. How time consuming is that because you have multiple people, as the Guardians, as the monsters, like how time consuming just to even set it up?
It wasn't too bad. Like one thing about Robert Bravo is he can get people in suits pretty damn fast. So I think at one point he got it down to almost 10 minutes. I think like initially it might have been taken 20 or 25, but never more than a half an hour. He would just put them in, put the makeup on, bam, and a lot of them had helmets. So he would just put the helmet on, they were done. It was pretty quick.
Yeah, and I don't spoil the movie at all. There's like a big battle scene that's quite extensive. So something like that, like how do you script that out, or do you storyboard that, or do you have it storyboarded?
No, I shot list. I'm not like I said, I don't really draw. I'll do a few little stick figure storyboards, but I usually do shot lists. So like I'll go through the scene, and I'll label the shots, 1 through whatever 25 and what the shot is. But a DP that I worked with on Craving, Sophia Cacciola used to
I'm
always
good
say,
friends with you.
yeah. Yeah, she used to always say that like she didn't storyboard on
Michael's
independent
the
stuff.
same way.
Yeah, Michael's the exact
yeah.
same way. Actually, it might have been Michael that said it. I'm trying to remember now, one or the other. And so when you're on an independent production and you can't spend a bunch of time at the location ahead of time, like storyboards are kind of useless because you're like you don't exactly know what it's going to be in 3D space. So I shot list so that I kind of know what coverage I need, but then I usually end up kind of throwing that out. Like a lot of it really was riffed because I had wrote it a certain way, and then we got to the location and then realized that a lot of the blocking from the script really wouldn't work. So between me and the DP, we would kind of like reblock stuff like on set, and we did a lot of second unit stuff because we got to a point where we're going to run out of time. So like we would be in the barn like shooting that big dinner table scene, and then or not the dinner table scene, we'd be down in the barn shooting the jailhouse stuff, and then second unit would be out in the woods with plant creatures shooting inserts. So we were just bam 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 bam, and then trying to make sense of it in post-production, which luckily I have an extensive like post-production background, so like I can make things work even if it's not quite right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I keep talking about the monsters, but there's a lot of characters as you mentioned, and Felissa Rose. I think it was like her best performance. I thought she was amazing in this movie.
I've been saying it a few times, and I'm afraid I'm going to start sounding like an egomaniac, but I think it is her best performance. I loved her in it. But like it's my second time working with her. She's like wonderful to work with, and if you give her like a certain type of material and really push her, like Felissa's capable of really good stuff. I'm not saying that she hasn't been doing good stuff.
I understand.
She's capable of doing like great. So I just like working with her was a dream. I'm gonna put her in my next movie too.
Yeah, she was absolutely amazing. And in fact, I say this as a compliment. I knew she was in the movie, and I didn't even know that was her at first. I was like, wait a minute, that's Felissa. And she's like, she was great.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a different. I love playing people against type too, so it was like totally against type for her, and it was just fun.
Yeah, and as an actor, I'm sure she appreciates doing something different.
Yeah.
And is that hard at all to direct though a veteran actor like Felissa Rose or Lynn Lowry?
No, not at all. Now, when I first started, because I worked with who's I working with? I think it was Robin Givens was the first name actor I ever worked, and I was really nervous. But what I found over the years is like they just want to work, and most actors love to be directed. So like Felissa Rose, I would sit there and like I would micromanage her and be like, hey, do this, move your eyes this way. And she loved that and would, react to it. And you can tell pretty quickly if somebody likes that or not. And then you can, adjust or not. Like Lynn, for example, like I wouldn't micromanage her as much. Like I would kind of, this is what we're trying to accomplish and let her accomplish it, where like Felissa, I could sit there and we could really, workshop it and break it down. But yeah, I found like, especially with Felissa, like I've reached a comfort level with her where like I feel like, like we could pretty much share anything.
Mm-hmm. And I saw that you guys you went on the road with the movie at theaters and drive-ins, which is just that alone is cool. And I know some other independent filmmakers are starting to do that, and I'm glad that's a thing. But what was that experience like? Did you get to go and see it with a lot of crowds?
Yeah. So like I met a filmmaker named Peter Higuchi. It was kind of his idea initially. He contacted me because he knew me from my YouTube channel. And was like, he knew I could hustle. So like the big thing about doing these runs is you got to put butts in seats. And if you can't put butts in seats, it's kind of a waste of time and you won't make any money and nobody will go.
You feel bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And you feel bad. Yeah. It's like it's demoralizing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, basically you contact the theaters, kind of one by one. These indie theaters or smaller theaters, they do revenue splits, like kind of 50-50 with you. And then you travel, you'll do a premiere there, you'll do Q&As, sell some merch. And then as long as that does well, sell enough tickets, then that theater will book you like for the following week, and they'll play a couple of days. And then usually you don't go to those. And then, on to the next one. So I did maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 hardtop theaters. And then Peter had the idea to do a double feature with his movie and my movie and book it in drive-ins around the country. So we started doing that the last couple of months. And, we've played in, Florida and Georgia, Idaho, California, and like he's going on with it. Like he doesn't want to go to streaming yet. So he's going to do that like all summer long, where, I'm going to hit streaming next week though.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. I grew up going to the drive-in. I don't have any drive-ins here anymore, but that's how I grew up watching movies with my mom. Watching stuff at 4 or 5 that I definitely should not have been watching. But.
Yeah, it's something else, man. I haven't been to a drive-in since I was a kid, but I have the nostalgia thing for it.
Yeah.
And then like I've never seen a movie of mine on a drive-in screen. So like seeing it 3 or 4 times like that was pretty darn cool.
It's gonna be pretty wild too. And A Hard Place would be a movie to watch with an audience because you have the horror stuff, you have the action, you have good, cool performances. So it's a movie that people can interact with while they're watching.
Yeah, absolutely. We did the premiere was probably my favorite one. We did 2 premieres. We did a like world premiere in LA, and then we did a kind of like a cast and crew premiere in LA, and then like a public world premiere in Dayton, Ohio, where we had shot. So like we had, all the people that lived around the farmhouse owners, like their friends and family, and they just packed the place, like 200 people. And it was just, it was great. It was just, you could feel the energy. People are laughing where they should laugh and gasp where they're supposed to gasp. And it was just like, I'm kind of a nervous dude. So like, I usually don't enjoy watching my movies with crowds so much because I'm so anxious about how they're going to react or not. This one I felt pretty comfortable with. Cool.
And this is a sad note, but since he just passed away, do you have a memory you'd like to share with Michael Mahal?
Yeah. So, I met Michael a few years ago. I knew him from online. He actually inspired me to do Craving. I had stopped making narratives. I was burned out. It's hard to raise money. I had never tried crowdfunding. And I started, I was following those guys online and I saw them regularly, raising $100,000, $200,000. Like, fuck, I'm going to try this. And then, so I'm doing Craving, and like out of nowhere, this dude, Michael Mahal, just starts DMing me. And he's like, hey, I saw your campaign. Really good movie, looks great. Hey, maybe you should try this, this, and this. And just like trying to help. Like, no, didn't want nothing back, not looking for, just trying to help. Just a really nice dude. And then, I do A Hard Place. I raised, whatever, 130 for that one. And then a year later, he calls me up and is like, hey, would you like to do a movie with us? And I'm like, yeah, I would love to. And, I pitched a couple movies, and right at first we couldn't find one. And then I had the idea for Apex Predators Club, pitched that, they loved it. And then, 6 months later, we're raising money for it. And over the last 6 months, like I've really got to know the guy. Like, and he is a genuine, nice soul. You see it from the outside and you think, oh, here's this, whatever successful producer doing all this crowdfunding. And, you'll hear the, kind of gossipy, back channel talking from
everyone
people.
Is jealous on some level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't know what's what until you actually know somebody, and then you get to know them and you see, because like on A Hard Place, like I have intimate knowledge of all the money coming in and going out. Like, I run the campaign with him, and I talk to him all the time. And dude, all he wants to do, or all he wanted to do, was make good stuff and treat people well. And when you're making a movie with 100 or 200 people, somebody's not going to be happy. But he like his whole goal in life was just to like be good to people and have people be good to him. He was a lovely human being.
Yeah, I've seen now pouring a lot of friends of mine in independent film, and all of them connected to his world in some way.
Yeah, if there's any kind of, and there's never a bright side to losing somebody, but if there's a silver lining, it's that when I looked on Facebook today, and I mean, I literally saw, hundreds of posts, people saying stuff exactly like what I just said, and I mean, he made a huge impact, dude. He inspired so many people to try, you know, that maybe wouldn't have. You know, there's so many people trying to follow in footsteps that are, you know, maybe not making $200,000 movies, but they're doing 10,000 or 12 or 15. I think him and Sonny like really pioneered that, you know, like the modern version of it. And they're just like good people, you know, and I love surrounding myself with good people. So I'll miss him. I'll miss him a lot.
Rest in peace, Michael Mahal, and A Hard Place, video on demand, May 27th. So I'm not sure when you're listening to this. It's either coming out soon or it's out now, but go check it out. Honestly, it's really, really fun movie, and I think people will dig it. And if you still can get a chance to see it in the drive-in, maybe you can't anymore, but you can see it on video on demand. And will you ever revisit this world, A Hard Place? Would there be a sequel at some point?
There's a really, like, I have ideas for a universe both before what happened and after, but you know, I always tell people, you know, with independent movies, it's a one at a time thing. You know, like, who knows what the reaction is going to be if, you know, if a movie like this comes out and, you know, makes, you know, a little bit of money, or people are, you know, on it, it makes it hard to, you know, try to finance something after it. So it just depends. I would like to, but, you know, we'll see.
All right. Well, it's been very cool. It's good to talk with you, and I really dug the movie. Congratulations on it.
Thank you, Neal. It was great to meet you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.